Good morning, everyone. Okay, so let's see. My low, my high, my act of kindness. For sure my low is the fact that both of my parents were busy last night, so I was on my own. Couldn't see him last night. I'm gonna see him tonight though, so that's gonna be really fine. My high is, believe it or not, based on who this week's Hot Ones guest is, I know what today's topic is going to be. And my act of kindness was... See, what was my act of kindness again? What did I do? Oh, right. I held the door for a guy carrying in something heavy yesterday. So that was nice. And I helped, carry some of that stuff in as well. So, yeah, sorry. I have that feeling I'm about to sneeze and, it's not working. And plus, my eye is kind of getting, swollen right here because of the sty I think that's coming. So, bear with me. So, with that said, good morning. Happy Tuesday, everyone. So, I'm just going to go right out the gate and say it. This week's Hot Ones guest is Josh Brolin. Now, Josh Brolin is someone who needs, no introduction whatsoever. As, he's Thanos in the MCU. What more do you really need? Other than, that. He's Cable in Deadpool. He's... he was in the True Grit remake. I believe he got nominated for an Oscar for that, believe it or not. He is a great actor. But all those movies came out when I was significantly older than my youth, but I talked about movies in my youth when I was in my 20s, so that's not going to work. So, as I was about to start this video, and then I had to remember that Josh Brolin was going to be on Hot Ones, I had to think long and hard about all of his filmography, because this definitely calls for movies of my youth somewhere. And within a minute before I pressed start, or press record, it hit me. One of his most famous movies ever, and one of the most beloved movies of all time ever, is The Goonies. So you know what? I'll talk about The Goonies. Now, you're probably thinking, well, Nick, The Goonies came out in the 80s. You weren't born then. True. The Goonies came out a few years before I was born. But my earliest memory of this movie was, believe it or not, I saw it in 5th grade, all the way in 2001. So not only did I miss out on seeing it in the 80s, I missed out seeing it in the 90s. Okay? And I'll never forget what was going on, because I was in 5th grade and we were gonna watch a movie or something. Nothing educational or anything. We were just watching a movie for fun or whatever. And a friend of mine had brought in the movie The Goonies, which when I first heard that, The Goonies, it doesn't really sound, something about that doesn't really sound that great. And believe it or not, my friend had 2 iterations of this movie. The actual real one, and one that she, pre-recorded. Yes, this is back when VHS tapes were a thing. Yes, I'm that old, deal with it. She had pre-recorded on VHS, and it was the TV version, because to give you an example of just how crass the dialogue was back then, even in the 80s, there's one scene in the beginning of the movie that is Josh Brolin related, by the way, so don't worry. Where the mom is talking to the main characters, to the two main characters, Josh Brolin's character and Sean Astin's character. Sean Astin as in, yes, Samwise the Brave from Lord of the Rings. Seriously, this movie had a really great cast. Corey Feldman, Sean Astin, Josh Brolin. The kid who played Willie in Temple of Doom. And who could forget the Truffle Shuffle? Come on, man. It's the Truffle Shuffle. Yeah, this movie really was, 80s through and through with like all the 80s stereotypes. But it was fun that way. Let's see, where was I? Where the mom is talking about how they don't want to hang out with this one kid. I believe it was Corey Feldman's character. And then the mom is trying to think of a word for what that character is. And then Josh Brolin interrupts by saying, pardon the language, "Shit, Mom." In the TV version, Josh Brolin's character says, "Scum, Mom." Although, in both iterations of that movie, the mom like smacks him on the back of the head and says, "Don't talk like that." I don't know. It was, the 80s were cool. The 80s were a rough time, I can assure you. Yeah, sorry. Nose is getting kind of runny. So if you don't know what the Goonies is about, the main character's family, Sean Astin, because Sean Astin and Josh Brolin are brothers. And their family is about to lose their house. And it turns out there is actually a map to this one secret pirate treasure from a pirate named One-Eyed Willie that could have, so much money that they would never be able to lose their home or whatever, right? So basically, again, this is an 80s movie. It started a bunch of kids, all with different, stereotypes. There was, one heavyset kid, one sort of bad boy kid, that was Corey Feldman's character. One that may have been, of a different, race or color. Like in Stand By Me, it was the black kid. In this movie, it's, again, the Asian kid who played, Willie in Temple of Doom. Obviously, the main character who, is just like the main character, kind of like the every guy. But this is before people got aware that the every guy was kind of like, boring. But, because actually, they didn't write him boring back in the 80s. Honestly, you know what? I think Doug on Nickelodeon was the first to do that. Write him boring. Whatever, I never really thought Doug was that great anyway. Anyway, so all throughout this movie, there's these like robbers that are like chasing after them. They're trying to get the treasure too. And the robbers have like this one, well, he's a grown man, but he's like, because like it's like an old lady robbing like her two sons, and then like this other son who's like completely deformed or whatever. And it leads to one of the best moments in the movie where it's like, "Hey, you guys." I mean, come on, who wouldn't like that, right? So, as you can imagine, this is definitely one of those movies that just screams the 1980s. And since I first saw it in 5th grade, I had seen it, several times, since then. And, I mean, there are so many iconic scenes in that movie, I don't know where to begin. I mean, the opening chase music when the robbers are robbing the bank, and then they get in the car and they somehow get in this one, like, car race or whatever. Like, That's iconic as all get out. You know, like the music dun 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 dun. Like that chase music, that's cool. Everything on the pirate ship when they get there, that's really cool. The attic scene where they find the map and Sean Astin. Honestly, people don't really give Sean Astin enough credit. He was a great actor when he was a little kid. Like, he completely sold the scene where he's telling the story about One-Eyed Willie. And, like, what can I say? You know, well, again, this is before people realized the child actors were kind of not good. In fact, anyone will tell you that the last great child actor was easily Haley Joel Osment. I'm just saying. A shout out to Sora from Kingdom Hearts. Anyway, again, some iconic lines. You know, do the truffle shuffle. And I already did, okay, fine, I'll do it again. Hey, you guys. Okay, I'm not gonna do that again. Yeah, twice that was enough. I'm not gonna milk that. I don't want to milk that. But yeah, actually, one part of the movie where because Josh Brolin's character is like sort of going through this arc as well, where like he's really like the rough and tough guy, but he has a bully of his own, and like this one girl really starts getting attracted to Josh Brolin's character, and like he gets with her at the end. So I'm like, okay, that's really cool. Although, no kidding. I swear, maybe I'm imagining this, but there's one scene where like they're all in the dark and the girl thinks she's kissing Josh Brolin's character when really she's kissing Sean Astin's character. I'm like, okay, my goal in life is to now date someone who is not only older than me, but looks like that. Okay, well, for the record, I would date someone who's a little bit older than I am. She doesn't really need to look like that girl, though. Not even close. I mean, even back then, Hollywood had really, like, high standards for how beautiful a person should be. And if you weren't beautiful, you better be funny. So, there you go. Let's see, what else am I forgetting about this movie? I can't really think of anything I forgot. I mentioned, you know, what the plot of the movie is. I mentioned some of the characters. I mentioned, you know, iconic scenes and moments and quotes. I talked about how this movie is the 1980s through and through. And you know what? I think that's why the movie is so beloved as it is. Because I'll never forget this. When I forget what movie had just come out, but the Walker brothers were talking about this one movie that they had just seen. Or maybe they were doing like a real thoughts on the movie that they reviewed. And Rob Walker had mentioned how everything nowadays looks polished. It looks clean. Not that that's a bad thing, but like the 80s and 90s just had like if you watch one of those movies, you can tell everything's like tinted looking and gritty and raw and real. Like, it really does look and feel like the place you're watching, the setting of this movie, is a real place filled with real people. And you technically you can't actually go to where this movie was shot. You know, lots of places are like that, but it felt legitimate. In fact, Doug Walker had mentioned the very last time a movie like that felt that way was actually Deathly Hallows Part 2, which score one more point for Deathly Hallows Part 2. My point is, like, if you've ever seen, like, these are, like, 80s movies, yeah, they're corny and they definitely have stereotypes, and some things about these movies do not remotely age well. Like, stuff you see in these movies would never be shot or filmed today. In fact, there's a bunch of movies that came out during this time, several of which I really could do movies of my youth on, where, like, the times that people lived in then to the times that we're living in now are complete night and day. In fact, I can think of one movie off the top of my head that really emphasizes this. I'll probably have to talk about that another day. But, yeah, The Goonies. It's an awesome movie. Like, favorite, share, hit the subscribe button, follow me on social media on YouTube. I'm very humble. This video for all you guys who are watching. Joe for them. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. Remember, if you want to talk to us, be here, and always say back. Take care and make good choices. See ya.